going on with my computer. Like every now and again, it does audio from somewhere else, and we don't know where. And like I don't know what's going on. But does anybody have YouTube up? Are we live? I think we're live. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the April Book Sisters book discussion. Today we're going to be talking about Good in Bed by Jennifer Weiner. But we're also just going to be talking about classic chick lit and chick lit, for lack of a better word, and just what our thoughts are. For me, this was a reread. This was the first time for you guys, right?
Correct.
And just how this book has aged, because I read this a long time ago and thought one thing, and then I read it to like this week and thought something different. So let's just get into it. If you guys don't know, Bree from Falling for Romance on Instagram, Sarah, the Bookish Knitter, the same crew, we're always here. So let's just get into Star Rating.
Okay, first off, what did you think the first time you read it?
The first time I read it, Bree, this was my bread and butter. This was my bread and butter. I loved these women's fiction stories. If it had weight or weight loss or plus size or anything like that, I was very into it for some reason. And I think because at the time, I think I read it in 2012 or 11. And at the time I was in college for health and fitness and stuff. So like these stories were my bread and butter. So I gave it 5 stars, saw nothing wrong with it, loved it. A little different now, but still, I still enjoy reading it.
So what do you think this time? What do you think this
What did you think about it this time?
I think it was still good. I definitely I gave it 4 stars this time. And it was still good. It just wasn't perfection and had a lot of other things going on that we'll talk about later. But what did you guys rate it?
You go first,
3.
Sarah.
I gave it a 4, but it's like a 3.5, 4. So yeah, I mean, for once, I think we actually agreed, Chloe.
Exactly. Well, that's why. So we were just talking about the 4 wins, and Sarah said she was sure she was going to have the opposite thoughts. And I'm like, no, I think these like 3.5, 4 stars, we tend to agree. So, because I agree completely, like 3.5, 4 stars. Candy was a mess.
Yeah, she was.
She was. She was.
Well, I rated it 3 just because I need to let a lot of stuff stew. I feel I'm thinking it's a 4, but I was like, let's put it at a 3 and like give it a couple of days. And I haven't stopped thinking about it since I finished reading it. So that's a good sign.
Oh, okay.
So what kind of things are stewing for you?
For me, it's a lot of I feel like you have to get into the book, and it becomes like it starts off and you're like, oh gosh, this is going to be a book about a woman that's fat and like her struggles with that. And like, I was all in it, right? Because I feel like those types of stories deserve a space. And then it became all about like daddy issues. I'm expecting that. So that's kind of, I'm really stewing on, which I think Jennifer Weiner did a good job of, like the relationship with our fathers as women, or lack of, how that shapes the women that we become.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that story, so I'm stewing on it.
Yeah.
Now, this was her first book, was it not?
I don't know. Let me look.
I want to say it is. Now, have either of you read her biography or her memoirs?
No, and I've wanted to. I know you read it.
That happens in that. So this part, I feel that this book, from reading her memoirs, very much autobiographical. The daddy issue thing, huge. And so that's why it didn't surprise me as much, Brie. When I got to that, I'm like, I remember that from, she had a very similar upbringing without her dad around. So yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys know what Nifkin means?
Yes.
No.
I didn't. And I was like, oh.
I've heard guys call it a taint.
Yeah. I've heard that word
too. Yeah.
But that's what I was like, Oh my gosh. I don't think I could tell people my dog's name without turning bright red.
I just call him Nifty or something.
Yeah. Yep. What do you guys think about the amount of like self-loathing?
I think it was accurate.
Hold on. Do I have YouTube open? Just a second.
No, you're fine.
No. Somebody
Googled it.
I Googled it. That's awesome. Yeah. I read some reviews that said it was like a little annoying and that she was a little whiny and that kind of stuff. And I don't feel that way at all. I thought it was very relatable. And I mean, I think regardless of your size, I think we all have some of the thoughts and things that Canny talks about. And I thought it was appropriate.
But on the weight loss, I have to think, because that book is 20 years old. Now, with her being plus size or bigger, how big is that? 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Good point.
But I really
now, right?
I really appreciate that there is no numbers and no specifics in this book.
Agreed.
Because I despise that. Because if this is a fat girl or a plus size girl or whatever, and it says she's a size 12, there you go. You just cut out, so many people and offended so many people. And made us dislike you. And I think this is Own Voices. Jennifer Weiner is a plus size woman. And so I think that really, really helps. I think writing about anything is so much better if it's an Own Voices thing. And especially with weight, I feel like that can be done so wrong. And so I appreciated the way that was done.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What did you think about the whole, is he a magazine columnist? The whole column thing in the beginning. What did you think about that?
So I kind of remembered really not liking Bruce. And so, but then when I reread that, I was like, that would be really like smack you in the face if you read an article about yourself like that. But he wasn't terrible. Like, I mean, what he was saying seemed to be, like at first it took me a while to get it like used to her size or whatever, which is where you're like douche. Yeah. But then he was like, I just wish she loved herself half as much as I loved her. And I thought that was weird
because it was almost like it was set up for us to hate Bruce. And then the more you read it, you're like, okay, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. That's a good point to make.
Yeah. But what did you guys think? And what would you guys have kept reading his column?
I don't think I could have.
I feel like she was kind of a glutton for punishment, right?
Well, and that's where I feel like the self-loathing, I feel like, was really relatable. But the masochism is like, girl, walk away. Like, don't look into that stuff. Like walk away. Bruce is the worst, says Aaron. I think regardless, it's effed up to put it in a like national column and not say anything or like.
And the fact that he didn't really even change, like, I mean, he didn't use names, but regardless, anyone who knows you knows him is going to know that it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would not say he's a good guy, but he wasn't.
Heads up would have been nice.
Yeah. Like, just give me a heads up that you're going to do that.
Now, the magazine itself, I had a hard time figure out what kind of I was telling my husband about the book because he was laughing at the title. And I said, to me, it sounds like Maxim magazine for men. That's what the magazine I can picture, the men's magazine. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And why are all these people reading this? This is like, you know what I mean? I didn't understand that part of it, like what kind of a magazine it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, I don't know. I live in Kansas. I don't live in like a city that has like newsstands and things, but it seems like that is somewhat a thing of the past or has not is not quite like people don't go buy magazines the way they did in 2001. No. I think that like now that would be a blog or something.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I was when I was reading it. I was like, this book obviously came out at a time when magazines were huge, you know.
Right.
I was chatting about that the other day. There was one of the romance podcasts was talking about how we all learned about sex. And I was like, 17 and Cosmo magazine, you know, because growing up, magazines were everything. Yeah. They probably were. The advice was not the best now that I look back on it. It's more of like pleasure.
Not at all.
But
yeah, it totally perpetuates everything negative.
And so one thing I found interesting about the book was, so when we were all talking about what is chick lit, and I like found this article and it was like Sex in the City is an example of chick lit. I was like, the whole newspaper column thing seems to be like a chick lit trend, but it's him that's writing the article, which that's interesting.
That's true.
On that. Yeah.
That's true.
My favorite thing about this book, truthfully, is that she loses the weight and that's not what makes her happy. And I loved that. Like, so here she is, model thin, you know, gorgeous by society's standards. And she's more miserable than she's ever been, you know? And I loved that message. I loved that the message was not, because so many of these books you read, the person loses weight and then the man comes back, or, you know, I mean, it just all falls into place because they've lost the weight and
life becomes amazing. Yeah.
I felt like we got an Easter egg for that when she goes to that doctor and he says something like, I want you to come up with another reason of why you want to do this other than like, you're mad about this article.
Yeah.
And so when all stuff in the ending happens, I was like, okay, doc.
Yeah. Yeah. I see you. Yeah. What did you guys think of the romance in this book?
I feel like the romance kind of got lost a little bit because
I really wouldn't say there was a romance in this at all.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, I just didn't even need that at the end.
Yeah, it didn't really need to be in there.
Absolutely.
Because it was not well developed. It wasn't, I mean, I had no cares either way about that. Like, I don't care. And it just felt kind of thrown in there.
I mean, it was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
That like just because you're pregnant with another man's baby doesn't mean anybody's, you know, you're unwantable or whatever. But I think it really got overshadowed by like everything else because this book had a lot going on.
Okay, so talking about genres, do you think this fits chick lit?
I still don't know what chick lit is. Okay.
I feel like this book fits chick lit perfectly because it just proves that there's no such thing as chick lit, in my opinion. Like, because it's, who knows? I don't know. This isn't a romance. It's maybe a women's fiction. It's not a rom-com. It's
women's fiction.
Antonella's here.
Nowhere near funny enough.
Okay, Sarah.
That's my opinion.
Why don't you think, Sarah?
Oh no, this was as soon as this is her journey, and at the definition of women's fiction, that's a women's fiction novel. There were some points where I was giggling, but this wasn't funny. I have read Confessions of a Shopaholic is where I put chick lit. That book I could hilarious, right? Journey, but she didn't learn anything at the end. She still did the same crap again, just married a guy with money, right? It had that humorous romance element to it. Whereas this one was definitely women's fiction all the way, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I could see that for sure. I'm like, outside of Sophie Kinsella, who is chick lit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, because
Sophie Kinsella, that's it.
Yeah, she's a genre all of herself.
And Bridget Jones, that's like the two.
But even that, like, that's fun. No, that is funny, but it's still a woman's journey. Like, it's her, and she, you know, and I don't know.
And like I said, that article
at the end of the day,
in the city's chick lit, and I'm like, Is it? I mean, I've never read the book. The show had funny parts to it, but I mean, what is the book considered chick lit? So is chick lit just a heroine's journey with a comedic aspect that doesn't focus on the romance?
You know, with like some cute graphic cover, like
yeah, right. It's got to have the illustrated cover
because then that to me insinuates that women's fiction has to be hard hitting and serious, and I don't think that's the case either.
Well, okay, Alicia just said everyone has their own definition of chick lit. 100% agree. Most people usually equate chick lit as more of rom-com types books. And I think that is probably true.
If you get on Goodreads and you search chick lit, most of the recommendations you're going to get are rom-coms. The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren is like one of the top chick lit recommendations.
Yeah. That's not a chick lit, that's a romantic
comedy.
Yeah, I think so. Aaron said, isn't chick lit just books soccer moms like? Seems like kind of a put down. And I agree. I think it definitely cheapens the books, calling it chick lit. I feel like it implies that it can't be intelligent or have anything with any depth. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So
a UK reviewer that reads to me what looks like a bunch of chick lit, but she lives in the UK. So you see the covers, and to me, I'm like, oh, this has to be chick lit, but I've never read the book, so they're probably like super serious. I don't know.
Who knows?
I know.
Who knows? And so Antonella said, I used to read so many chick lit women's fiction, and I always wanted more romance until I discovered the romance genre.
Antonella, we need recommendations, Antonella. Give us the recs.
Yeah, give us what you think. Because I think another one is like Jane Green. She is a UK author, and she writes a lot of just kind of fun, romancy women's fiction. I guess I would call her chick lit, but that one is hard to define because it really can be like, this one clearly is not a romance because it's about Canny. It's not about the relationship. The relationship's just thrown in there. But it's really gray if it's a women's fiction. It's really gray if it's not a rom-com because it's not funny. So is it a chick lit? Is it a women's fiction?
Oh, wait, for you who reads like tons of women's fiction, what keeps it from being women's fiction for you?
I guess I don't really feel like chick lit is a necessary genre because I feel like women's fiction, for me, I do prefer the harder hitting stuff. Like I think we've talked about before, if I'm going to give something 5 stars, I've got to have like an emotional response. And you typically don't get that in chick lit, but I think it's not fair to pigeonhole women's fiction just to say it's just hard hitting women's stories. So,
agreed.
I guess I think everything, I think everything that is chick lit is women's fiction, but everything that's women's fiction is not chick lit. Maybe.
I was thinking that today. I was like, which one is the blanket term? Is chick lit the blanket term, and then women's fiction and romance falls under it, or is women's fiction the blanket term and chick lit and romance falls under it? Like what?
So this is an marketing
thing.
Yeah. I've always heard I agree with Stephanie. The European term for women's fiction.
I 100% because if you look at the original chick lit authors, it's the one who wrote Bridget Jones, Tilly Tennant, like they're British authors.
Yeah. Also like Candace Bushnell, she wrote Sex and the City. I think she's American, but she has another one called Trading Up that I'm looking on my shelf. She's got a few more that are kind of that, but then there's like.
You think Jenny Colgan is chick lit? The bookshop on the her books are like and stuff.
So I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. I don't see chick lit as a necessary genre, I guess. Not that the things that are considered chick lit is not necessary literature. I'm saying calling something chick lit, I feel like women's fiction or rom-com or romance, I feel like we've got enough words.
Yeah.
I think like romance is romance. We all know what a novel is. outside of that, let's do away with chick lit, let's do away with women's fiction, and just call it contemporary fiction. Why does it have to, you know what I mean? Like, because there's so many gray areas you don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Submarine novels, men's fiction.
You don't ever hear the term men's fiction, you know?
Yeah. Well, yes. Hello, John. What time is it, John? Is Nicholas Sparks chick lit, or does it have to be written by a woman? Good point.
Yeah.
Just like then with Nicholas Sparks, you get into is YA a genre? No.
No, YA is not a genre.
Yeah.
And neither is new adult, and that's the hill I will die on, and everyone else is wrong.
I agree. Preach.
New adult and YA is an age group, people.
But that's where I feel like too, women's fiction is a gender, people. Like,
exactly.
Who are you to say what women read, you know, or because, and why is there not a men's fiction?
Well, okay, here to that point. You and I, we read a lot of historical fiction, right? Written by women. Case in point, Kristen Hanna. Why is it not women's historical fiction? Why is it just historical fiction?
Or is it historical fiction, or is it women's fiction? Because this Four Winds that I
setting. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Four Winds is the story of a mother and trying to do the best thing for her kids. That's women's fiction.
Like that Kristen marketed more as women's fiction than historical fiction, which is interesting. Interesting point.
I think with the Four Winds, I think the line is drawn because, like I told you guys, like it is about the setting. It is about this time period. You know, the woman and her story and her family are definitely a part of it, but it is about, like, you could not take if you put this story in a different setting, it wouldn't work. So maybe that's Antonella says Jill Mansell. I would say that is a good one. Jane Fallon, Sarah Manning, Paige Toon. Paige Toon is a good one.
Yep, for sure.
Look at Antonella coming through with the record.
Right?
Lighter than women's fiction. And I think that's true.
Yeah, agreed.
I just wish women's fiction wasn't pigeonholed. Like, I don't know. Because I feel like women's fiction, I take it personally because I love it. You know, I don't really take it personally, but like, I feel like people assume it's boring and like has unnecessary drama, or it's just boring. But
it was like on Amazon, right? Oh my gosh, I was the author Lee Duncan. She has a series coming out that's, I think she's self-pubbing, and on Amazon, I'm sure you all have seen it. It's like that divorce women's fiction. Like there's a whole subgenre of women's fiction that follows like newly divorced women, found out her husband goes to an island, opens a cottage, right? And I'm like, one of my friends read it recently. She's like, I didn't expect it to be such a downer. And I'm like, well, you see the pretty pink cover and you think it's going to be a good time, but like, dang, you know? So
yeah. Well, like, I feel like women's fiction,
and I was like, well, all women's fiction isn't a down.
Yeah.
No. But it just opens it up to all the other conversations too, like cover design and, as Steph said, marketing and, you know, whatever. It's up to the publishers and at the end of the day. We have no reader.
Yeah, and it's totally, like she says, who you want to buy the books.
Exactly.
And kind of this 25 to 40 range or whatever, 25 to 50. I don't know what the range is, but this adult women is who's targeted. In a lot of
that. Consider Beach Read by Emily Henry.
I haven't read it yet.
I mean, romance and women's fiction, but like his story is equally a part of it. He's got a lot going on too, and his story is a part of it. And that book, I really loved the discussion of genres, and thought that was really like it just shows how gray all of these lines are. But that book in and of itself was gray, and they talked about it.
the setting is on a beach, right?
No, it's not. It's in a lake.
It's like a big, it's like a big yellow cover.
Yeah.
The title is Beach Read, but then it's not really a beach read. Is it a beach read?
Well, right. And it was kind of a downer, which it was, and you would not expect that going in, which I think we've talked about in a lot of different ways, that the marketing of, I mean, that was very well marketed to a certain population, and some loved it, some hated it.
Aaron said it's Jane Austen women's fiction.
When Jane Austen wrote, it was probably contemporary, but now historical.
Yeah.
And I don't think so, because it's a romance. Jane Austen is a romance, or Jane Austen books, I should say.
Or historical. Like, it's like women's fiction.
It's a historical romance.
Yeah, it's the catch-all of stuff that doesn't fit anywhere else.
See, I don't consider Jane Austen historical, because when she was writing about her contemporary.
Yep.
It was a contemporary work at the time.
Yep. Antonella, I love really you're so positive. Let's just have something just for us.
I know, right?
I love it.
That's right. But like, I think as humans, and especially as readers, we want things into a certain box. Is this a historical? Is this a women's fiction? Is this a chick lit? And I that there's so much, maybe we can't box everything in. And a book is just a book. It was good.
But then how do we do our Goodreads Choice Awards?
Oh, who gives a shit? Oh, sorry.
I'm kidding.
I mean, right.
I think John, let us hear the other side. How do you feel?
Yes, John. Let us
Goodreads
know.
Choice Awards. They don't know what they don't know they're putting anything either. So
they had Verity under the romance category.
If that's romance, y'all. I mean,
there's no romance in that book.
I feel like it was kind of sort of a romance.
No,
it was romance in a weird way.
There was an HEA
very
in that
weird.
Something. Goodreads Choice, they are a mess. That's funny.
Because then, okay, so Mary Kay Andrews, beach read. Is it just marketing? What separates her from chick lit or for women's fiction? Because she blends genre.
Okay, and what is a beach read?
Right, exactly. I don't say now you want to go down that rabbit hole. What's a beach read?
Who wants to read a thriller on the beach? Not me.
Hello.
Hello. That's awesome. Yes.
No, when shit can come out of the water and you're all around strangers. Kids get kidnapped all the time. Kids drown. People drown. Stuff. No.
Light fluffy on the beach.
Yep.
No, see, I don't care. I'll read whatever. If I could go on vacation, I'd be happy at this point.
Right. Yeah. Steph, we were talking about Goodreads and how crazy they are.
And our favorite book, Verity.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, Erin. Memoirs on vacation. I like that. Yeah. Plan your emotions a lot. That's valid. Yeah.
I mean, I think the idea of categorizing is just so readers know what they're getting before they pick it up. Because obviously you don't want to pick up something if you're not in the mood for it. But then maybe chick lit is just one of those genres that it's just really hard to define. I think it's made up.
I think it's made up. I agree. Yes.
Like, Hallmark making up like Valentine's Day is a thing. Marketers are making stuff up to sell books.
Well, that's what it is.
But like so often, see, and this is where I get like frustrated because so often things are mismarketed especially like when we're talking romance versus women's fiction, and people get so up in arms if they're expecting a romance and it turns out to be a women's fiction or vice versa. And so it's like, publishers aren't stupid. They're marketing how they want to market. So why is there the misleading in marketing?
I think it would be detrimental because if they mismarket a book and we read it and we're like, dude, this is not what we were expecting. Stars, 2 stars, 2 stars. It's not helping them in the long run. Sell books out of the gate, but down the road, you'll be like, well, they said that last time this book was this and it wasn't. So I'm going to go to another publisher or whatever. I don't know.
Well, like the one I'm thinking about mostly is like In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. That was a story about friendship. I don't know. Have you guys read that?
I have 2 copies of it.
I haven't read it. No,
I'm actually going to send you a copy, but never mind. You've already read it.
Love it. See, I loved it. Because it's a story about friendship, but it was marketed as a romance, I believe. And it's not. It's not at all.
The biggest one I see is when it's like, oh, this is a new rom-com, and then I read it and I'm like, this was not funny.
Yeah.
Having a terrible heroine, like breakup Lily Manon or whatever her name is, the author of When Dimple Met Rishi and all that. And I'm like, this is just, the heroine's a bitch and there's nothing funny about it.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like too with chick lit, it is a requirement that you can at least empathize with the main character. Because otherwise, why do you care?
Yeah.
Having an unlikable main character in chick lit is hard.
Steph brought up the Boyfriend Project in Real Men Knit. I haven't read it, but I know her thoughts on the Boyfriend Project.
I mean, I liked it, but it was not a romance.
Yeah. Was I the only one mad that she forgave the dad's mistress too easy?
Canny? Who?
What are you talking about, Antonella? Look at her maybe trying to bring us back to the book.
When Canny fell in the bathroom.
No, we don't do that here.
That scene in the bathroom of The Good in Bed and the new girlfriend. Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. But yeah, that was intense. So how do you guys feel about the pregnancy and the baby and all of that?
Well, I messaged you two and I was like, no, I wasn't expecting
Didn't see that one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The pusher, I think.
I didn't care. My thoughts on surprise babies. I didn't care.
You think
I did like that it was in Philadelphia. I feel like you don't see Philadelphia in a lot of
you books. Don't, no.
I don't think it was needed. Let's put it that way. The story had enough going for it without adding that whole bit to it. Yeah. I just think that if they had cut that out, it wouldn't have made a lick of difference, really. I mean, well, yeah, because she loses the weight after the baby, kind of an idea when she's all upset. But it could have been another reason. It didn't have to be that.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that she chose to make her pregnant, because we're dealing with somebody who is like, even as an adult, really trying to deal with her daddy issues. And then you find out you're pregnant by your ex. You've been like, before she finds out she's pregnant, she like goes to his dad's funeral and she like calls him in the middle of the night, and clearly there's a girl there. And she's like this just constant like trying and like not getting anywhere. And so then when she found out she was pregnant, I was like, fudge. Like, this is just a really weird way to take the story.
I think it made her, though, like have to be connected to Bruce and kind of face, I don't know. I mean, her relationship with Bruce was really weird. Like,
is Bruce the one that got away after we realized he's not a total douchebag?
Right.
Is he the one that got away?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And like, because part of me is like, well, the baby's there to connect her to that. So she always has to kind of like let his column and let all of that like not get to her. Like, she's got to rise above that. But she also like just kept coming back for more regardless. And so the baby wasn't necessary for that.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it was me, I don't know. But I just felt like, I know she was worried about her daughter, but I didn't feel a connection there.
Well,
and her and the daughter.
I think she also had some like postpartum depression or something.
Oh, for sure.
Clearly. And I think that like lack of connection just showed how low she was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I loved the side characters. I loved her mom.
I did too.
I loved her mom. I don't know. It was like her mom and the other few side characters.
I am also glad they did not get back together.
Yeah,
I am too. Yeah.
That would have been not good for anybody. He's a douche and abandoned his child. Erin, how do you really feel?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, her dad, that was like a real tough part of the book to read because I thought it was really realistic. I think it just shows, unfortunately, how I don't want to say that all moms are angels because there are moms who walk out on their kids, but like it's a lot easier for dads to just reach this point where they're like, I don't really like you anymore and I'm gonna leave. And those scenes, especially because when she was little, she was daddy's girl, and then as she's growing up, that relationship starts to wedge, and like for her to overhear him say like, oh, she's not a beauty but she's smart, she'll be able to take care of herself, and it's like, who says that? And then just how quickly you like move on and start a new family and like forget about your other kids. Like, it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah. Someone asked a while ago, and we kind of missed it, but if we have read the sequel. And I
read it.
There's a sequel. Yeah. I have in 2012, and I gave it a 4. But I'm reading about it, and I have no recollection of this. But would you read the sequel?
So is Joy Joy's older in that book, right?
She's happily married to the tall, charming diet doctor and has settled into a life she finds wonderfully predictable, knitting in the front row of her daughter Joy's drama rehearsals, volunteering at the library, and taking over 40 yoga classes with her best friend Samantha. As preparations for Joy's bat mitzvah begin, everything seems right in Canny's world. Then Joy discovers the novel Canny wrote years before and suddenly finds herself faced with what she thinks is the truth about her own conception, the story her mother hid from her all her life. Interesting. And Peter wants a baby. Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember.
I mean, I'll put it on the list, but I'm not going to rush out to read it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I do want to read some of her other works, though. Like, I do have, like, some of her more recent Big Summer I want to read. I really liked the writing style. I really liked her voice. Like, I do like her as a writer. Like I said, my first book by her that I read was Stars, and they were fantastic. So it's not anything to do with the writing. I enjoyed the book at the end of the day. I just didn't think it was spectacular.
Yeah. Erin has heard it's not good. So I used to 5-star everything. So the fact that I 4-starred it means it's not great, maybe. But I don't remember. Can't say that for sure.
Holding herself accountable here, okay?
Yeah. So Alicia said the premature birth was hard because I was premature, and because of that, it was hard to read how she came out perfectly fine. I agree.
Especially 2 months. I had my daughter at 7 months old, and she's 12 and not
has complications. Yeah. And yeah, that's where, it's like women's fiction can go there and needs to have trigger warnings just the same as anything else, I think, because I agree. Like I was not premature, and I did not have premature kids, but anybody I think who's been pregnant has those fears, and then for that to just like work out fine is not real, and is not realistic. It's not helpful to people who have actually experienced that. Yes, John, I think all voices are valid.
Especially John's. It's like 4:00 in the morning where he is.
4:40 a.m. You can vote anything you want, John. You're
That's right.
You're an honorary book sister, book brother.
So it'll be interesting because like next month's Chick Lit-a-thon and it's Bridget Jones's Diary. Yes,
I know. I'm so excited for you.
I will get to experience the real Chick Lit. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I want to. When are you going to read that, Bree?
I got to get a copy of it. I have to have a copy.
Step one.
It's so ugly, though.
It is horrible.
It's so ugly.
But I need to know, what about Bridget Jones's? What makes it Chick Lit? Because just like y'all were talking about Sophie Kinsella, if you say Chick Lit, people throw out Bridget Jones's Diary. What about it is Chick Lit?
So Bridget Jones, I mean, I think it's just about a woman writing in a journal about her life. And I mean, she's a little overweight. She smokes, she drinks, she's not got her junk together. She is like just kind of a mess, and it's funny.
Yeah.
For the most part, and so it's following Bridget, her dating hijinks, her food and diet, and her what her family thinks of her, and all of that kind of stuff in a lighthearted way. I think that's maybe what makes
it very Sex in the City, Chloe. It sounds like Carrie.
It's yes, except Carrie is way too like put together, and
I was gonna say,
yeah.
Like Bridget is like,
I don't know.
She might be at Walmart in her PJs.
Carrie was a horrible friend. She was a mess too, Chloe.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Just a different kind of mess.
She was a mess in $700 heels.
Right.
Which, how did she afford, by the way? That's why I could never watch Sex in the City. I'm like, this is so not realistic.
You gotta the disbelief. Just put it.
I watched it for Mr. Big. That was it.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love Chris Noth. Back when he was in Law and Order. Yeah. Big fan.
Aaron, no, we're not reading it for Book Sisters, but we are reading it for Chick Lit-a-thon. So if you have not heard about Chick Lit-a-thon, Sophie from All Things Equilateral, she puts it on and she's fantastic. Definitely check it out. And that's the group read.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
And they're taking like a different approach this year. They're just kind of saying Chick Lit is kind of like our belief. If it's a woman writer,
you're good.
You're good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fun. That's fair.
Yep. I actually was just making my TBR this morning, and I think I'm going to try to film it this afternoon. I don't know. I'm excited about it, though.
I can't wait. I was going to ask, what are you reading? But I'll wait for the TBR.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm hoping to film today and put it up this week. I'll for sure put it up this week. So,
Aaron, tell us your favorite women's stories, because Aaron doesn't seem to like anything.
I know.
Give us some recs, Aaron.
What do you guys think? Okay, so Alicia said, I don't like how she ended up with the perfect guy when she's a Debbie Downer and is not realistic in the way no guy would put up with that.
Who are canny?
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about the fact that he's a diet doctor? Like, is that going to kind of leave her in that negative headspace forever of like being weight obsessed?
I don't think so, because I don't know. I think the reason the author did that is because it's showing that she is okay, like that he loves her anyway. Like, even though this is what he does for a living, but he doesn't push her. He like you guys said, like in that point in the book, he's like, you need another reason why you want to do this. You know?
Well, I wonder if now so now
would it change like
well, yeah, like intuitive eating is such a big thing, and like rejecting diet culture is such a big thing. Whereas in 2001, we were just coming out of the 90s where it's like all about low fat, diet culture to the extreme. So his attitude for 2001 was very intuitive eating, anti-diet culture, what we are now. I think there just maybe wasn't the term widely used.
Yeah.
Didn't like Sex in the City as a teen. I think I've read the book. And I remember not liking the book nearly as much as the show.
Yeah. Did you know that there's a YA book free for Sex in the City?
The Carrie Diaries.
Mm-hmm.
Diaries,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a show. Carrie wasn't put together. She was just dressed better. That's
just
right.
Dressed better, yeah.
You was a mess.
Truth.
Like, you're a horrible friend to like everybody. Stanford especially.
Who were you guys? What Sex and the City character are you?
I didn't watch it enough to
Oh, really?
I feel like Sarah would be Miranda.
100%. And I wonder if it's just the red hair.
No, just like the no.
She was married to that ugly guy, wasn't she? Like the guy was like this tall or something.
No,
was she the one who had a baby in the show?
No,
yeah, she had a baby.
Oh wait, Miranda did have a baby.
I didn't even watch the show, Bria.
I'm thinking of Charlotte because I'm like,
see, I liked Charlotte.
I think I would probably.
Charlotte was the one married to the short guy.
Yeah, short bald guy.
Harry.
Well, she was married to the douchey guy for the first half of the show. Yeah. Yep.
You think you're Charlotte, Chloe?
Probably.
Yeah.
She's the most prudy and I mean the infertility things.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just very like she looks like the Jackie O style, whereas the rest of them are a little more, well, not Carrie, I guess, and Samantha. I'm definitely not Samantha. Aaron's our Samantha.
See, Samantha in the streets, sleeping with everybody, Samantha. But Samantha was like, she came through for each one of them at different. She was such a good friend. I feel like she was.
John's the short bald guy. Love it.
The reboot I'm so nervous about because Samantha's not. I feel like Samantha stole the show.
She was good. Have you watched the movies yet?
I haven't. I'm nervous.
Okay.
I have seen the movies. I think we saw them in theater.
The second one I hear is terrible, but I will.
I have only seen the first, and even the first.
The second one is terrible, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
I think
it's so bad you can't look away.
Like we want more of these characters, but I think you gotta just let a good thing lie. Kind of same with the Gilmore Girls, the 1 year later, or the 1 year in the life, or whatever. Like,
yeah,
I feel like while you love seeing them, it's just not the same. And yeah,
that's what I appreciated about the show. I was like, wow, I'm on the 6th season and this is it. Like they really were like, hey, it's good. Let's end it while it's good rather than drag it out.
Yeah.
But they keep making movies and reboots now. Now 20 years later, they're like, hey, why'd you do that? That was making a lot of money. Well, what are you guys currently reading?
What am I reading? It is Dewey's 24-hour readathon.
Yep. So thank you.
So far, it's an epic fail for me, but that's okay.
No, I read 45 minutes in a sprint, and that's it.
Nice.
I fail every time.
Well done.
I'm reading a paranormal romance, One Night with the Valkyrie by Jane Godman, and it's good. And I'm reading Kate Walker's 12-point guide to writing a romance because I was like in the romance and nonfiction mood, and I was like, let's just find one that covers both. So that's what I'm gonna try to.
There you go.
Now I'm reading The Four Winds.
What are you reading?
The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like 8 pages into it, so I've just started it. But
are you reading it physically?
Digital or audio.
Good. The audiobook narrator is great. She's great.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
And the end, there is a lot of good stuff in the end. Like not the end of the book, but like there's a note from Kristen Hanna, and then there's like an interview kind of thing with her. Yeah. The Lost of Prophecy.
I have heard that book is so good, Alicia.
Ooh, I have a copy of that.
That's kind of one of those, like, I'm not going to do the anti-TBR tag just because I'm not, but That's kind of one that I'm like, meh, I don't really care. Everybody's all obsessed with it. And maybe I think I would read that one in like 5 years when everybody's forgotten about it. And I'm not, because I don't think I'm going to love it. And it's so hyped right now. I'd be like frustrated I didn't love it.
What are you reading?
Erin, The Dream Daughter. I hope you love it. I hope you love
Dream
it.
Daughter by
Diane Chamberlain.
Okay. I was like, I know it's one of your girls, Chloe.
It's one of my top 5 of all time. I love that book.
What are you reading, Chloe?
Yeah.
Anna Kay. I'm reading Anna Kay.
Oh, the blue book? It's like a blue book?
Yep. Because I have the arc for Anna Kay Away, and that comes out on Tuesday. So I'm trying to read Anna Kay first. Wish me luck, though, because I have not been reading. Like, I don't know.
It's been such a brain fog month. It's been so weird. Like, I've wanted to read. I can't say I've been in a slump. It's just been really, I'm like, oh, I'll just sit and watch TV all day. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. And I have found a couple of podcasts that I really like. And so I'm like, and podcasts are one thing. I don't do hardly anything bookish. Like, that's one area where it's not books at all. And I've kind of been enjoying stepping away from the book world a little.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. It's interesting how I'm doing that. But yeah.
So when are we going to get the TBR video?
Wednesday. Okay. Well, so I was making my TBR and I was going to just do May and Chiclitathon all in one shebang. But y'all, let me just pause for a second and tell you that I have like 30 books on my May TBR. It's ridiculous.
You should try to do like a third. How many days are in May? 30 or 31?
31.
31.
I'm shooting for a book a day.
Read a book a day. You should try, Chloe.
Hell no. Hell no.
Book a day in May.
Hell no, because Mother's Day is in May, which means I'm taking naps on naps on naps. My birthday is the following Sunday, which means I'm also taking naps on naps on naps. So I'm not doing anything those days, let alone like, and yeah, and I'm hoping
the thing with book a day in May is not to read a book every day, but it's to finish 31 books in the month.
Still no.
Let's try it. I'm trying it.
I'm going to attempt it.
I'm just not motivated, you guys. I need
graphic novels.
I need a support group. We need a daily check-in.
Support group.
Yeah. Get this Voxer chat going.
We're just sending random messages. Have you read today?
Yeah, right. Everybody do it like a couple times a day. Hold on. I'm really going to count. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Well, this is hard too, though, because like for Wedding Plot, which is one of the chicklet things, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 options. That all sound so good. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 31. 31. So, wow. I'd have to read all of these, you guys. Yikes.
I don't know what I'm going to do for the university plot. I'm like, I don't know if I have any books set. Oh, I just read a book set in college.
Okay. I have one that I want to read. I just messaged Morgan before we came on here, Morgan from Nothing Better Than a Book, to see if she wants to read, because it's one that is pretty polarizing. Like you either love it or hate it. So then I saw Naima wanted to read it. So I was like, hey, do you want to read this with me to make me read it? And she was like, nope, never reading that author again. I mean, she didn't say that, but she was like, she said the last time she read her, she really didn't like her. I've never read the author.
What is it, Chloe?
I messaged Morgan and was like, hey, do you want to read this with me? And she has not answered me. So Brie, I'll message you. And if you want to read it with me, you can. Because now I'm even more scared about this book.
Oh, God.
Okay. Is it decided the book for next month? Let me look. It will be. I think it is Daughters of the Bride by
I think
Susan
so.
It was that or Reconstructing Amelia. Because Goodreads was split even. Let's see. I'm going to double check Instagram right now. But I'm pretty sure it's
Reconstructing Amelia had 9.
Okay.
And 14 for the Susan Mallory.
Okay. Daughters of the Bride by Susan Mallory.
Yep.
It's on my shelf back there, actually.
I like Susan Mallory.
I'm looking forward to it. I've had it for a while.
Yeah, hold on. Let me put that up. May.
Susan Mallory and Bridget Jones. Those are the ones that I need to prioritize in May. Got it.
There you go.
Daughters of the Bride? Of the Bride.
Daughters of the Bride, yes.
Mallory. Cool. That'll be fun.
I wonder if this is like a retelling of Father of the Bride.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I think this is a women's fiction.
The mother's getting. I actually think it's a bit more of a romance than a women's, because this was written years ago by an older one, and she didn't really delve into the women's fiction until recently. I think it's very similar in aspect to what we've been seeing a lot lately, the Sarah Morgan Christmas ones, where you're getting like the family aspect of it with the 3 sisters. Sisters has something going on. So one's married, one's divorced. You know what I'm saying? I think it's that kind of an aspect.
So but then why is that not women's fiction? Or is it?
We will
Susan
see.
Mallory?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in May. Hold on. Let me see what day in May.
What did we decide on a theme for June yet? What's our June?
I don't think so.
TBD, guys. TBD.
Give us a one-word theme.
It is Father's Day, so maybe we should be reading like Hunt for the Red October. What else did my dad love? Jack Reacher.
A men's fiction.
Ooh, you guys know I don't want to read my dad's favorite book. That would be terrible. I have an idea, though. Let's talk later. Because what if we had the Book Sisters taken over by men? We invited some of our men booktube friends. Do we have any besides John? John, Steve Donahue,
Steve, Charles,
Charles.
Yeah, you know what? We'd all be reading with. If Steve Donahue picked, we'd all be reading Gilgamesh or something like that.
We gotta have Steve. He's gotta be our special guest. Him and John.
Yep. Single dad.
Yeah.
Alicia, I'm loving that idea.
Ooh, I like it.
Dads.
I like it.
That's one of my favorite tropes is single dads.
Dads in June.
Oh,
Thank you.
Something for that.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. Alicia for the win. My dad only reads cookbooks. Does he actually cook, Aaron? My dad's favorite book would not be fun. If you guys have not seen my Zooming with the Fam with my dad, go watch it. It would be
read fun books.
My dad is not. No, he does not read fun books. Single dads.
My dad's favorite book was Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I don't like that either.
Which I still want to read it at some point.
Yeah.
My dad's would be like some basketball memoir.
That would win. We could, single dads is great, or like sports romances, but that's really stereotypical.
Let's do single dad.
Single dads are great. Okay.
Allison, God, no.
Okay, Erin, you're a lucky lady. Okay, Alicia, then stay tuned.
I can probably pull about 18 off my shelf just looking right now.
Harlequin does a fair amount.
It's a staple.
We could do Jill Shalvis in June or July.
You guys, I did just win the Arc of Wildstone #7.
It's a sign.
I haven't won a Goodreads giveaway in forever.
Me neither. Girl.
I got that email. Like,
pissed every time somebody says they win one. I'm like, I haven't worn one since like 2015.
Really?
Won it once. You never got the book.
Yeah. I won 2 months in a row. a couple years ago, and the second book like never showed up. I don't know if it ever did.
I want to give away.
Actually, it was the Oysterville Sewing Circle. I won the Oysterville Sewing Circle by Susan Wiggs, and
nice.
And crud, what was that one called? The one where the girl, her mom was on like Biggest Loser, and her mom was really cruddy to her for being fat. Heck, I can't remember. Martin, I think, was the last name. What is it called? Where's my glass?
Erin says she wins all the time. So jealous. I don't even win the ebooks.
Right?
And they give out tons of those. I never even win those.
You guys, what is that book called? That one, her mom is like on The Biggest Loser.
Can you think of the cover? Tell us the cover.
It's like, I think it's red with a plus size girl in yellow. Heck, that's going to really bother me. Well, heck, I read it right away. So I'm looking at my shelves and I can't.
You on the Jill Shalvis. I'm so jealous. I need to get back on Goodreads. Pay attention.
Yeah, you just need to.
What's the newest one called? What's the newest? What's the one coming out?
Love
for No, not One to Watch. Not One to Watch.
Love for Beginners is the next Jill Shalvis.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So gorgeous, the cover.
Oh yeah, that's the one she's standing on like the cliff or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a really pretty cover.
I'm ready for some more Heartbreaker Bay, Jill Shalvis. If you ever
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go get the cover because you guys, I'm so not a visual person. I said red with a woman standing in yellow. Did I not?
Yes. And it's probably green.
With polka dots.
Yeah.
There's no red or yellow on this cover anywhere. But it was
green.
So, but I did win this one.
That's hilarious.
To be honest, Maggie Ann Martin. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, dumpling, I think, is what I was thinking of, but that's not what it was. Maybe.
No. I just Google searched. Oh yes, I just Google searched single dad romances, and there's a Mariana Zapata on here.
I've never read her
Kindle edition, 551 pages.
Their books are huge. They are huge, but they're good. They're slow, very slow burn.
And Sarah's trying to read 31 books.
She can.
And one of those books is Outlander.
Oh no, Sarah! In May? Why?
Because I'm stupid. I mean, because
you're not stupid.
You're bold.
So you're not
trying. I'm trying.
You're not done reading that series, Sarah?
I've read through the entire.
Okay.
They've announced book 9 comes out in November.
Okay.
So I'm not going to get them all done by November. I want them all done. I want to reread.
All right, girls.
Well, great chatting.
Great chatting.
I'm going to go take a nap. You guys who are doing Deweys, good luck.
I know. Let me do one more 45-minute sprint, and I'll call it a success.
Yep.
That's right.
There we go.
That's right.
We won Dewey.
Winner.
There you go.
45 minutes it is. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone who is here.
Yes.
Hope you liked the book and can't wait to read next month's. So stay tuned for June picks. We'll converse. And Alicia, I feel like if you ever want to be on camera, you can join our show since you're the MVP of the day. So message one of us if you want to join. Okay.
For sure.
I feel like we have to have Erin too. Come on, Erin.
Everybody, come on in. Okay. Great. Bye, ladies. And John.
Bye.